Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. We want to say thank you to our platinum sponsor, Matter Behavioral out of Mount Pleasant, 265 State Street. And again in Mount Pleasant, 435-462-2781. Guys, thank you so much for believing in our cause and what we're all about and where we want to take this. We greatly appreciate it. So I am here with our co-host, our lovely Melody. Hi, Melody.
Hello. Thanks for having me today.
Oh, absolutely. It's always a pleasure. And we actually got my wife, Jeananne, in the audience today. So she will be the one flipping the applause switch, the laugh switch, the ooh switch, and the awe switch. But
we're so grateful for you too.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for driving down to Salt Lake from Ogden and being with us, so we greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely, this is a great thing you have going on here, Alan. I feel so just privileged and grateful and just happy to be a part of this every other week. I am so happy to be your co-host.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure having you here. Hey, we have two special guests with us today. We have Sara and Jeffrey. How are you guys today?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jeffrey?
Jeffrey, would you rather me have you called Jeff?
Yeah.
I'll do Jeff because my name's Alan and I don't like Alan, so I always go by Al, so we'll go with Jeff.
Okay.
So Sara and Jeff are with Corner Canyons Recovery Center. And I think it's pretty cool how this whole thing kind of started with this relationship. So I saw Jeff at the gym. He goes to the same Planet Fitness that I go to, and I was noticing that he was working with a group of people. And I thought it was kind of like, maybe like a corporate type account, which actually really it is in a way. And so I went up to him one day, and my friend Bill Schuffenhauer was with me as well, and he's a 2002 Winter Olympian. And we went up and started talking with Jeff and introduced ourselves, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm here with Corner Canyon Recovery Center. I was like, whoa, really? So we started talking, and we just kind of became friends from there. And Jeff invited both Bill and myself out to Corner Canyons, and we came out and shared our story, which, I mean, I loved it. I loved every single minute that I got to be there with those, with the students. I don't know if that's what you call them, clients and students. But it was a lot of fun to get up there, and you could see that they all paid really close attention to our stories. They had some really great questions that they came up with, but it was just a pleasure to be there. And I get to finally meet Sara. We've talked a few times over email, and so thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about, we'll start with Sara. Jeff made sure that was clear right at the start because she is starting.
He's shy.
Yeah. Well, he's not shy at the gym.
No, that's his safe place.
I would have to agree with that.
Yeah.
It's a safe place as well, yeah. But tell us a little bit more about yourself, Sara.
Sure. So first of all, I just want to make a really minor correction. It's actually now Corner Canyon Health Centers. They did used to be called
Corner Canyon Health Center.
They were Corner Canyon Recovery for quite a while, and then they ended up changing their name to reflect that we are focusing from a trauma approach, and we are more open to taking people who are coming to us with more variety of disorders than addiction. So addiction is one of the things that we treat, but it's not the only thing that we treat.
Well, that is really
so
good to know.
So is PTSD one of the...
It's something that I'm seeing a lot of recovery centers do now, is kind of this shift in focus. When you're looking at addiction, a lot of the things that people have done in the past are really effective in treating the symptoms and in treating the behaviors, but if we don't get to the root cause of why someone used in the first place, or why someone had to keep using to survive, right? And I see you nodding your head, Jeananne.
Absolutely, and I found it stems usually, back from their past, obviously the root.
Absolutely. And so a lot of people are noticing this in the field. And so you'll notice that a lot of recovery centers are adopting a more trauma mindset now. And so Corner Canyon's definitely gotten on top of that, and wanting to make sure that we aren't just treating their current addiction, I mean, the analogy I like to use, and I hope it's not triggering to anybody, is I want to get that shrapnel out before we stitch up that wound. Like, we want to figure out what it is that's causing the addiction in the first place, or that was an initial part of them needing to numb or distract or run away or escape. And if we can get that shrapnel out, they're less likely to jump to another drug or another behavior or another dysfunctional relationship or whatever it is that they're doing out there. They're more likely, it's kind of that whack-a-mole problem that you see sometimes, you know, it's kind of like we got this problem down and then another one comes up. They're more likely to sustain recovery when we can treat the trauma as well.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's where that healing begins, right?
Absolutely.
We get to the root of what that problem was, and then we work on that particular problem to bring that healing, so that you're no longer wanting to be into that addiction or feel like you need to be, you know, indulge into it.
Yeah, well, ideally, you're able to you're able to create safety on an internal level, rather than doing it kind of with everything around me, this scramble, this chaos, to create this illusion of safety and control. If we can anchor into self, and that's not really possible when trauma is alive inside of us, right?
Yeah,
when it's kind of
right.
being relived. If we can create safety internally, we can anchor into self, then there's this, it's a very different way of approaching life, and there's less need to numb and run away and escape.
So feeling more secure within yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very nice.
So we've had some guests on the show before that have basically said, I had to learn how to heal myself from the inside before I could fix everything that's on the outside. And it sounds like that's kind of like where you guys are going. Is and I remember one time when Janan went to a rehab, and I won't say which one it is because I don't care for it very much, and I don't want to go off on a tantrum here, but you know, when the attorney called me and was telling me that, you know, the courts were getting tired of seeing her, and she's getting close to looking at having some serious time in jail. And we were talking about the place where she was going, and that they were going to order her to be there for like 6 months. And I'm like, you can take her to any rehab in this valley. She's already been through a number of them. I says, the only thing that I feel is going to get my wife sober is you got to figure out what's going on inside here. Because whatever is going on inside here that's eating her up is causing her to go back to this addiction. And I guess they just didn't listen to me, but, you know, and luckily, you know, as time went, she figured that out on her own, and, you know, had her spiritual awakening, which we have a lot of guests come on the show and say, hey, I finally had that spiritual awakening where, you know, I've said a few times that God did that warning shot over the bow and says, this is your last chance, you know, but it's really cool that you guys are doing that, because there is a big shift in recovery now when it comes to addiction. So tell us a little bit more, I mean, if you can. I mean, we were talking about, tell us a little bit more about yourself, but just from you saying to the health center, I loved where this went, so
Well, I mean, I can absolutely relate this to myself. Part of my own awakening was working with addicts, actually. So as a therapist, I had mostly worked with foster kids, and then I decided to take a shift and try working in recovery centers. And that was an eye-opening moment for me. I do not have a history of substance addiction, but I have a history of codependency. And until that moment, and I'd done my own therapy, I had done a lot of my own trauma healing, I thought, yeah, I'm there, I'm ready, right, to like be fine, you know, or whatever that looks like. Until I started working with addicts, I don't think I truly understood what codependency even was. It opened my eyes to understand the way that I get hooked in to connection and validation in ways that actually very much mirror what happens to people in the process of addiction. And it also taught me what honesty actually means. Until you're like in a 12-step room and seeing people talk about like processes of recovery from addiction, like my concept of honesty was not even close to what honesty could be. And so it encouraged me, like it was humbling as a therapist to see people, to see my clients model for me what honesty actually is. And that actually is part of what woke me up and started my own kind of I don't know, elevated way of living where I'm able to start creating things for myself that feel more authentic and real. And in turn, it improved my own work professionally, and it just kind of became something much better.
That is really cool.
Thanks for sharing that, because you know, yeah, it seems to me also that speaking with people, hearing them brings spiritual awakening to people.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why shows like this podcast and, you know, just people speaking out is so important.
Mm-hmm.
It really does bring eye-openers to people, spiritual awakenings, revelations.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I've had so many of my own. I'm one of the people that had to go within and heal myself.
Yeah.
I had to go deep within. I went into some serious isolation many times, and for years too at a time, just to be able to heal myself and see where I needed healing. Go to the root, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go to that root in order to be able to heal myself. And it's true, when we get to that place where we were able to heal ourselves in an area of our life, we now can help other people, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty cool.
That is really cool. So it's, I mean, even though you went through your schooling and you were on a path, it led you to another path that almost was therapy for you.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know, and that's what I think is really cool, because I was a guest on a podcast about a month and a half ago, and the gal that was interviewing me asked if I go to any therapy, you know, to kind of help with some of the trauma and stuff that my wife and I went through, and I said, yeah, it's every Thursday in the studio. And she's like, what? And she goes, are you talking about your podcast? And I'm like, yeah. And this is my therapy, because I get to hear all these different stories, and I get goosebumps thinking about all these different shifts that people have made in their life. And people who have battled with addiction, it helps me so I understand it a little bit more, so I can understand more of what my wife was going through. But it's so therapeutic, and we get to sit here and we get to talk about it, and we get to hear, you know, what this person had or what that person did, and it's so cool. It's so educating, I think, for all of us.
Well, because I think suffering is universal,
Yeah,
right? We're all
is.
just little humans on this tiny little planet trying to make it work.
Mhm.
And however your suffering ends up looking, whether it's addiction or something else that's equally dysfunctional or just in a different way, right? I think we can all connect in that space.
You know, I feel like it's almost like we're all just thrown into this life. We're thrown into it innocent and not ready for the harsh realities that this life brings. You know, and so, you know, so when we're betrayed, or, you know, we feel depressed because life isn't what we thought, or we're not who we wanted to be, or something to work out, or whatever it may be for that individual, it can push us into thinking that we need to resort into drugs or alcohol or even sex addictions or whatever it is. It's like we're just thrown here. Like, we just have to figure it out. And it's harsh. It's harsh.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Melody, because we were here in the studio on Tuesday, and we were having some pretty deep conversation. Kids at such an early age now are being put on like Valium and gosh, what's the other one? I should know it because my ex-wife used to take like a handful of them, like Xanax.
Yeah,
You know?
Antidepressants.
No, he was.
Not my wife. It was my ex-wife. But and it's like junior high kids and high school kids, and it's like, oh, I'm having anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go to the doctor. Oh, here, take a Xanax. And it's like, our society is doing everything they can to medicate us.
Right.
Because have we gotten to that point to where we can't deal with life? I mean, seriously, is it to that point? I mean, addiction has skyrocketed, and of course, COVID didn't help that. But when I was at the gym this morning, I was doing some cardio, and they were showing that addiction deaths have just skyrocketed. And a lot still has to do with the oxy, and then of course the fentanyl that's coming across. And I'm just shaking my head going, man, when life was tough when I was a kid, I talked to my parents and it's like, frickin' deal with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
It's part of life.
Yeah.
And you just went out and you jumped in the canal or went and played or did whatever, shot your BB gun, shot your boy. Anyway, that's what we did.
Or just started drinking to deal with it.
Or, well, yeah,
Because
well,
you didn't know the answers.
our drinking was, you know, some kegs on the weekend or something like that. But it wasn't something that we looked forward to every weekend because life was so terrible that we couldn't deal with it. Now, there's kids committing suicide because their boyfriend or girlfriend broke up with them. Or because of crap that's being thrown on social media. And I'm saying kids have it tougher now. I'm not saying that they don't, because we didn't have that social media stuff.
But
you know,
it is written that times will get worse.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well,
it is.
It's getting there.
And we see it because we see how much things have changed since we were younger.
Yeah, that's true.
Because that's how it was for me too as a child, you know. I mean, it was a simpler life and a simpler way of dealing with things. And even before our time, you know, we talked to our parents and they're like, oh, times have changed so much, it's so bad now. And it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, and kids feel like they need to resort, or not even just kids, right? Just everybody feels like they got to resort to whether it's prescription drugs or just, you know,
other means of addiction.
Yeah, right,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and we don't, but we don't need it. We don't need that to heal. Like Sarah was saying, we just got to get to the root of our problem.
I think there can be a place for medication to be supportive during that process. I think medication doesn't pull out the problem, right? It's not really what it does. But I do see that sometimes if somebody is drowning in like overwhelming symptoms and you're like, just do this and this and this, we've got all the tools that you need, and they're not capable of even grasping those tools because the symptoms are too much. Medication can sometimes, if it's careful and conservative, right? Can sometimes do a really good job of like getting people to a place of being able to try this thing that they couldn't have before, right?
You know, I'm really glad that you actually tapped on that, because even like with Valium, sometimes, you know, someone can't be calmed down. They need some Valium to be able to calm down in order to be able to think clearly, to be able to even get to that root.
And there are medication options that are not addictive, right? Like I think the ones that you guys are mentioning are really problematic.
Oh yeah, that's what we're tapping.
Yeah,
we're
of course.
So Sarah, what, and I hope I didn't miss this because I really pride myself on paying attention to what our guests are saying. What got you to want to be a therapist or to help kids?
Sure.
I mean, what?
Yeah, further back, well, a few things. I grew up with a lot of just personal trauma in my childhood, sexual trauma, mostly, that put me into a space of repeating, right? I mean, it's, I can't remember who said it, it might have been Peter Levine, who says that if you don't heal from your trauma, you will attract it or reenact it, right? It's kind of like this inevitability that it will continue if you don't get that taken care of on a deeper level. And so it was something that I started getting help for myself when I realized how unhappy I was and how I was spiraling into just personal chaos out of a need to manage or avoid, I guess, avoid the pain that was from, you know, kind of residual from my childhood.
Yeah.
And so doing my own trauma work, I think that's usually the gateway drug for most therapists. They do their own trauma work and they're like, oh, I want to be a part of this, right? So that was probably the first thing. I have a brother with schizophrenia, and it's always been a source of curiosity for me that somebody as sweet and beautiful as him could become a completely different person because of mental health disorder.
Yeah.
So another reason why my curiosity, my drive to understand what makes one person get this far in life without that kind of a barrier, and what makes this person vulnerable to that. So that was another reason I was very curious and decided to get into that field.
That's
So
pretty cool.
you're schizophrenic?
Yeah.
You know, I had an aunt that was schizophrenic, so I understand that.
I would
Yeah.
wish that on my worst enemy, right?
Yeah.
That would be a tough life to live.
Yeah.
Really, really tough.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeff, you're over there just as quiet as can be. We're gonna start picking on you a little bit.
Just learning.
Yeah.
Just learning.
Sarah's over here with dry mouth because she's talking so much. No, I'm just kidding. So, man, what's your story?
So my story is the reason that I got into the field of substance abuse treatment is that I went through 35 years of addiction myself.
Wow.
Yeah, was a very hardcore meth addict, and because of that, completely threw my life away. And it just got to the point where I was tired of being sick and tired. Had a lot of internal stuff going on that I didn't realize, and kind of like Sara said, when I realized that I had a whole lot of trauma that I didn't want to deal with, and the narcotics and the meth allowed me to run and escape from that.
Yeah.
And was in and out of treatment centers myself, and finally got the opportunity to go to a treatment center and just decided this is the life I wanted to live. I wanted to be sober. And I can't really say exactly what took a hold, other than I was in a group one time, and there was the mention of a gentleman was talking about how he wanted to stop and how, you know, he was tired of hurting his children, and that kind of set me off in the group. And I just kind of went off during the group, and at the end of the group, everybody was just really quiet and was in tears, and we were done, and my therapist at the time said, and I will never forget this, he said to me, he said, you know, you just did more in this hour than I've been trying to do in the last 3 months.
Wow, that just gave me
Wow.
goosebumps. Holy
Jeez, I
cow.
know, right?
And he said to me, he said to me, if you're not a therapist in the next year, you will really let yourself down. And I didn't. I did relapse a couple more times, and one day I just had the opportunity. I would actually start working at a treatment facility, and decided just one day I'm going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I want to be a therapist. And the other part of that, before I go too far with that, the other part of that is my higher power, which is God. I went through some really difficult times. Had said some things to my higher power and cursed my higher power for making me an addict. But the beautiful part about that now is I understand why. If I hadn't been an addict, how could I help others that are addicts? So there was that piece of it, and started going to school, had the opportunity to work at some treatment facilities, and finally graduated and finally started working as a substance abuse therapist. And the most beautiful part about it is the clients help me more than I assist them. My clients keep me sober.
That is really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, sometimes God does allow us to go through certain things in our life, even if it takes like a big majority, big chunk of our life, just to bring us into a whole nother realm, so to speak, into a spiritual realm of helping other people with the same problems that you had. So I think that that's actually, I think that's really great that you allowed yourself to be that leader and to help other people to realize and see that they don't need to resort to drugs, you know, in order to heal. And that's wonderful.
And I don't know if I'm so much a leader as just, I just direct them.
Okay,
Yeah.
I put
okay,
them on the path.
okay.
It's kind of like the
Yeah.
connect the dots, you're just putting them there
Yeah.
and hopefully
Yeah, the
that they're
clients,
hitting.
the clients do all the work.
Yeah,
They definitely do the work.
Oh, I like that.
As therapists, we just put them on the right path and we walk beside them, not in front of them, not behind them, just beside them.
yeah.
And if they have a stumble, will we help them stand back up? Absolutely. But they're gonna do the work.
Wow.
And it's
There
all
is no
about
way to
them.
do it for them.
There's absolutely no way to do it. Absolutely.
I believe that now. Before I didn't, but I definitely believe that now. And I like what you said on that, Jeff, that, you know, just that when you got up and talked what you did for those people and how you realized that God put you on that path for that reason. I was at an AA meeting with my wife a long time ago, and I've said this on a couple other shows, but this gentleman got up, I think he was getting his 15 or 20-year chip or something like that, and he goes, I thank God every day for making me an alcoholic. And I remember leaning over to Jeanette, I'm like, that guy's acting crazy. Why would he thank God for making him an alcoholic? And as he continued his story, the light bulb finally went off. Because he's like, look where my life's at now. My life wouldn't be where it's at today if it wasn't for me taking this path. And I started getting it. And now, to connect the dots backwards and rewind of everything that my wife and I went through, I used to hit my knees so many times and go, God, why are you putting me through this? Why is she going through this? I mean, I was angry as well because I couldn't understand. Now I see what the heck we're doing here. I mean, we just hit a year this month when we started this. And to see the people that have come through here, through the studio, and see the comments that have come out on social media, now I'm going, all right, you knew, but I didn't, we didn't, and to see where it's going. So that is so cool. You're the second person that I've heard say that they thanked God for putting them on that path, because and we had a gal on our show. Her name was Melissa Christopher, and she's out of New Mexico. And as a matter of fact, I'm working with her on some stuff right now, but it's almost kind of like you get a little bit of that survivor remorse in a way, because she goes, a lot of people that I used to hang out and party with, they're no longer with us. You know, they lost their battle. Addiction took them. Why was I one that survived? 35 years, Jeff? Oh my gosh. I mean, God had to be watching over you for, 35 years, because,
It's a long time.
I mean, the last time I saw my wife drunk, when I looked at her in the eyes, I'm like, I'm seeing death. She'll be gone. In a week, I'll be burying her. I mean, that's what I was seeing. But there's so many people that get through it and then do what you guys are doing, you know, to go, hey, I'm going to now step up to the plate and I'm going to start helping somebody go through their battles. I'm going to help somebody start healing from the inside out. So I just think that's incredible.
It's a beautiful thing to see when the client gets it. And you can literally see the light go on in their eyes when they get it.
And we want it for all of them.
Yep.
Like, we want that for everyone that walks in
Of
that door.
course, yeah.
But they're not all ready, they're not all going to, and that's the heartbreaking part of this work. But then when somebody does, it's like, oh, okay, that's fine.
I know,
Makes up for
I know
a
your
lot of it.
directors and guides, and I myself. But people will look to you as someone that can help lead them out of the darkness that they are living in. Because you've been there. You've been there. You've done that. You've experienced it. You know what it is to be at your lowest in life. And you know what it's like to strive to come out of it and to resist that temptation. And so they look at you like you're a miracle and that they can be too. You know, and the worse the world gets, the more and more guides are needed. You know, so
And I'm a big believer right now that it's happening.
Oh, me too, I'm seeing
mean,
it big time.
I'm seeing a lot of people who are really taking their experiences from their life that have been troublesome or, you know, just terrible experiences to now stepping up and helping others, because we all need it right now. I mean, the world's going a little stir crazy right now, so we need it. And Sarah, when you were talking, you said a key word. Not everyone that walks in your doors is ready. You know, the first time Janan went to a rehab, it was Recovery Ways, which is just not too far from us, a couple blocks away from us. The only reason why she went is because of me. That's not the right reason to be going. You know, and I pushed her, and she finally went, and it was pushed again the second time, and you know, after about the third or fourth time, I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know? But and I would talk to her sponsor, who I ended up chatting with her quite a few times, and she would say, she's not ready. She's just not ready.
Did you find that it's because someone has to want to be ready? They have to want to change first, or what did you find in that?
Well, just from what I've learned from guests being on the show, there's that light bulb that finally just went off. You know, it's like it's Tamar. It's Tamar out of Canada who we interviewed. You know, she said she was laying on the carpet, you know, after partying and high and laying on the carpet looking at her dog, and she's thinking, what am I doing? She goes, you know, and she says, it's time I put down the shovel instead of digging my hole deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
You know, we've had other people that come on and have that spiritual awakening, you know, like Janan had, where, you know, it's like they were visited in their dream by God or Jesus or, you know, however they look at as their higher power, going, hey, you're going to be dead here if you don't stop this, you know. And like Jeff's was a little different. He stood up and talked, and it grew and just threw it, you know, and just that right there. I mean, that's what I'm finding.
Well, I want to know everybody's experiences, so I want to hear, well, I mean, like, what your thoughts are on that. Like, if you feel like
is that what you were going to elaborate on, Jeff?
A little bit.
Okay.
And it wasn't just that it was the speaking in the room. It was the fact that it got to the point where, unfortunately, there were some attempts to stop the pain, and that was by taking my own life. There was some unintentional overdoses, and that sometimes when you're an addict, you have to realize that you can't get sober for anyone else or anything else but yourself. And that's where the change begins. When you choose to take care of yourself through self-love and self-discovery, that's when you get sober and stay sober. But an addict can't get sober for anybody else other than themselves. They can't do it for their dog, they can't do it for mom and dad, their loved one, their partner. They can't even do it for their higher power. They have to do it for themselves, or it's not going to work.
Well, a higher power will be there.
Will be
but you
by your
support the effort.
By your side.
By your side.
By your side. Just like what even Sarah was saying, you guys are by their side, not behind them, not in front of them.
And like you were saying earlier, that they have to want to do it for themselves.
It's interesting to me because the research actually says that it doesn't matter what brings somebody in, because somebody could be brought in for court mandation, they could be brought in because a spouse is like drawing a line or giving an ultimatum. Their chance of actually achieving recovery statistically is the same, but I think that's why. I think it's because if they're in a place where they might get a moment of reprieve from their use, if they are ready to kind of have that wake up, the opportunity is there for that. But I think that's the reason. I think the people that make it out are the ones that do end up connecting to their internal self, like my why, like this is for me. But sometimes they all need to just kind of get in the door for that opportunity, and whether or not they're ready is going to be up to them.
And I love what you just said, Sarah, there, is what is my why?
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of it. What is my why?
That, and I agree with you, Jeff, on that one, because a lot of us don't know what our why is. You know, I've shared that, you know, I was 24 years in manufacturing. Lost my job because I failed a drug test, you know, because that was my, Fridays and Saturdays was my time to just let things go. In all the years since 2009, I've been doing all kinds of different things because I decided I wasn't going to work for corporate America again. And I kept thinking, you know, is this my why? Is this my why? Is this my why? It wasn't until I started this and started talking and started sharing my experiences, that's when my light bulb went off and went, okay, this is my why. It took me till I was 57 years old, 58 years old to
It's never
figure
too late.
it out.
Never too late.
You know, but it, you know, and I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody else out there. I kept trying different things, but it wasn't really until then when I really figured out what my why is. And I tell you what, that is a hell of a great feeling. Once you know what your why is, what your purpose is, it's almost like you put on that armor, and there ain't nothing that can go through it.
Very nice.
But I think too, with what you said, the biggest part of it is that you did figure it out. There are so many out there that haven't.
Yeah.
And those lost souls are no longer with us. You know, which kind of leads me to when I got into this business. I remember a very wonderful therapist told me, Jeff, there's going to be two things, and you have to ask yourself these two questions, or one question. When it comes down to it, are you going to be able to handle it? Because you can't save everybody. There's going to come a point where someone you know you're going to lose them to this disease. And how are you going to handle that?
Wow.
Yeah, and then the other part of that, he looked at me and he said, but if you assist one person in staying sober, you've done your job. Just one. Not 100, not 10, just one. You've done your job. And that's what it's all about, is doing my job for one person. And I feel that I'm getting close.
You know, I'd like to
That's cool.
share something.
Wow.
It was an experience that I had, and it gave me a really great realization that everything you do, just one thing you do, or even don't do, or one thing you say or don't say can change your life forever. It can just completely change your course in life. And I'm going to give you an example of what happened with me. I was a single mother. And, you know, I didn't have a great job. I didn't make a whole lot of money. And I needed greater stability because I was on my own and I had to support my child myself. Well, I was with a friend that offered me, you know, smoke marijuana. And I wasn't a drug user or anything. I don't smoke marijuana. It just wasn't, you know. And I was like, well, I guess I will. You know, so I did. And then the next day, I received an opportunity to work as a secretary through somebody I knew. And I had to be drug tested. Yeah. So I was like, oh no. You know, I got to get some of that drink that will clean me out.
Go to the smoke shops,
Yeah,
is that what
like
they sell
I was
it?
like doing everything, okay?
Pickle juice.
I do. I'm gonna take that test.
Vinegar.
Vinegar.
Yeah, and I did. I did that. I got that drink. I can't remember exactly what it was. I was like 22 at the time, right? But yeah, it didn't work. Okay, I failed that test. Okay, but I could have had a great stability for me and my child if I had not touched that drug. If I had just said no like I always had. I always said no because I already knew how it affected me and I didn't like it. But no, that one time.
Why did you say yes that one
See
time?
why? You
There's
know,
the
why?
therapist talking now.
And why did I?
What was happening that day?
You know, I don't know actually. You know, when I think back, I don't know. You know, it was so long ago.
You want to test
You'd
that?
have to give me more. I think you have to.
I think she should on that one. One of you
I think
guys.
you'd have to give me more time to really think about that and go, yeah, what was going on that day or at that time in my life, you know? But see, my whole point here, try to be really careful decisions that you make in your life, because they can affect it. So it put me on a whole nother path. And that path still wasn't good. I mean, it took me a long time to gain my stability, even longer than what it could have. So, you know, we gotta be very careful of our choices in our life.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we are gonna make mistakes, but, yeah. I wanna know where this is going.
I do
Okay, so
too.
I'm curious.
Also gonna stop you right there. We don't make mistakes.
Okay.
We make bad choices.
Oh, yeah, very
Okay,
well said.
There you go.
Very
Yeah,
well said.
I'll second that motion,
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Because our choices lead to our behaviors, which leads to our actions, which causes us to do things we probably shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank for correcting that. That is true.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah, a wonderful therapist said that to me once, and I just looked at him and said, "That's bull crap."
Yeah.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah.
He's like, "No, think this through." And I did, and I had to go back and apologize because he was right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the choices that you make, you know. And so I'll go back and recorrect that. We do all make bad choices, you know. And I believe we have to, because that's what helps us grow. We gotta have those bad choices.
Well, in that moment, and this is just me just channeling some compassion, in that moment we make what might end up looking like a very bad choice later on. You're not obviously thinking of it that way,
No,
right?
not.
You're trying to get through something,
Yep.
right? And if you're in a place where you're outside of your window of tolerance, if you're in a place of overwhelm, your ability, I saw that.
Yeah.
your ability to be discerning and wise
Mhm.
over how you get through something is extremely limited. And I actually think most of the time we're doing the best we can, even when we're doing the stupidest things.
You know,
That's yeah.
yeah, we do things, you know, that aren't always best for us. But also too, I have myself come to that realization that, you know, we're all on a particular path, and we take that path for reasons. You know, so the path that I chose was a harder path. I don't feel that everybody needs to make that choice in making things harder than what they need to be by making better choices though. So
But see, I'd like to spin off of that before we go to
Please
commercial
do.
break.
please do.
I still comes down to like what Jeff was saying, where it's that choice. I think sometimes we don't realize there is another choice there. And the reason why I say that, so, and I've shared this in a few podcasts before, I had a really bad anger issue when I was younger. It's what I grew up around. If things didn't go right, you threw a fit. You put your fist through walls, you kicked stuff, you threw stuff, you got in somebody's face. That's just how you dealt with things. When I finally hurt somebody that I cared about, I'm like, I don't want to be this type of person. I went to therapy. I was there for 6 months. And I don't know how long I had gone through the therapy, but my therapist, she had this piece of paper, and it was just a white piece of paper, but you could tell there was something on the other side. But we're talking, and as we're having this conversation, she's doing this on purpose. She's working me up, and pretty soon my foot's bouncing. I could feel my fist doubling up. I could feel this anger coming, and I finally lashed out to her and I was like, why the hell are you doing this to me? Why are you pissing me off? I don't get it. You're supposed to be here to help me control my anger. Now here I am, you know, I mean literally my foot was bouncing up and down. And she flipped over this paper, and it was this circle, and it had half of the circle was dark and it had all these little paths, and the other side was light, white, and it had all these little paths. And she goes, I want to know how you feel right now. Black being angry, dark, miserable, light being happy, you know, joyful. And I'm like, right here, this is how I'm feeling. I'm tapping on the black. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
And she goes, okay. She goes, why didn't you choose the other side? I went, what? She goes, why did you choose the place that makes you miserable and angry? Because you pissed me off.
You did this to me.
But you allowed it.
I was,
right?
yeah, you did this to me. Yeah. I'm allowing that to happen to myself. She's not doing it to me. And if all of a sudden the gears started switching and I'm going,
You don't have a choice?
holy cow, really? I don't have to go this way if I don't want to, but that's the way I'm always, it's like the pinball, you get bumper to shoot the ball over there, because I thought that's how it was supposed to be. And I've been challenged with that pretty much my whole life. And not saying that was an aha moment, but it still has taken me a lot through, Janan's addiction and stuff to start even opening it up even wider to realize I can go this way or I can go this way. And if you don't see a way, sometimes I'll drive myself crazy going, okay, there's got to be another way around this.
Go to the gym.
There's got to, yeah.
Right, Jeff? Go to the gym.
Yeah, go to the gym.
Actually,
punching bag.
I actually just called Sara.
I love
This is
it.
what I'm
That's
going
great.
through, and this is what I need. Can you help me here?
I love it.
That's
I love
great.
it.
Just talk it out.
Well, guys, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then after that, we're gonna make sure everybody has Sarah's numbers. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Sarah?
Okay, yeah. Anyway, guys, hey, stay with us. We'll be right back.
Have you ever been in a car accident? Do you know what to do after being in a car accident? Are the insurance companies going to take care of you? Hi, I'm attorney Rick Heaton with the Law Office of Bobby Udall. I will help you through the process and answer all of these questions. I give every single client my cell phone so they can talk to me whenever they need. Let me deal with the insurance company so you can focus on getting better from your injuries. Call me at 385-330-0226. Again, my cell phone number, 385-330-0226. Don't call the insurance company first. Call attorney Rick Heaton at 385-330-0226.
This is Gregory, owner of Lift Up Concrete, proudly serving the Wasatch Front for the last 12 years, lifting sunken flatwork for both residential and commercial applications. Only fully trained professionals lifting concrete at your residence with the same quality of material and method used at every commercial job we ever do. Don't replace it, lift it. liftupconcrete.net, 801-792-4535. Contact us at liftupconcrete.net, or if you're looking for a complimentary quote, 801-792-4535. Again, 801-792-4535. Again, this is Gregory, Lift Up Concrete Lifting.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the other side of addiction. Again, we want to thank our platinum sponsor, Matter Behavioral out of Mount Pleasant. Guys, thank you so much for your sponsorship. And we just want to take this time also to thank all our sponsors. My gosh, we have so many of them. Just thank you for believing in what we are doing. the reason behind this. If I could start talking too much, I get emotional talking about it. Just thank you. We also want to say thank you to Brad with Resilience Talk Network for giving us this opportunity to be here in the studio and do this. And I don't know if I'm liking these cameras because you probably see the tears in my eyes, but that's okay. I'll deal with it. But again, thank you, Platinum sponsor, Matter Behavioral. And again, Melody, thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolutely.
And Jeff
My
and
pleasure.
Sarah, guys, thank you so much. I really loved the first half of the show, the things that we got into. Just some really, really great conversation and just some really good, helpful tips for our listeners, you know. That's what I love about doing this show. There's so many good things that I get to pick up on and I can apply in my life right away. I mean, as soon as we get done with the shows. But right before we stopped for commercial break, we were talking about choices, and I think there was something that you kind of wanted to go into from there.
Yeah, thanks, Al. I really love the story that you told about when you were with your therapist and you had that aha moment where it was talking about that realization that I can choose something different.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me think of something that I really love doing with the clients. I don't know if you guys have read Viktor Frankel's Man's Search for Meaning.
Yes,
Have you guys read
yes,
that?
I have read that
I
one, yeah.
love those concepts that he brings out, and that's and anyone out there who hasn't, I definitely recommend giving that book a read. It's not very long. It's pretty easy of a read. Viktor Frankl was a Holocaust survivor, a psychologist who ended up immigrating to the United States after World War II. And one of the things that he attributes his survival of concentration camps to is his ability to make meaning of his suffering. Once you make meaning of your suffering, it's no longer needless pain, right? It kind of takes the suffering out of it. And that's one of the things that he talks about that I was reminded of when you were telling your story, is that kind of gap between this thing that's happening, that's causing me pain, and my response, right? There's this gap.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where all of our power is. And I find that to be extremely inspiring. It's something that I've thought about a ton for myself, because a lot of times we think life is happening to us. And I see that at my clients all the time. It's like, well, this is happening to me, so I have no choice but to use or to hurt these people or to withdraw from the world or to hurt myself. And actually, I mean, we could continue that way, right? It's easy to continue doing whatever keeps us in a place of avoidance or numbing or distraction. We can continue doing it indefinitely until we have lost all meaning, or we can find that gap between the thing that causes me pain and my response and decide to be empowered in that moment to choose something different. That is actually ours, and it's something that Viktor Frankl found the one thing that nobody could take from him when everything else was taken from him. When you think about a Holocaust survivor, everything that's taken from you, he was able to maintain choice over my responses. That is all I have. And so I think if he can say that, right, there's no way my suffering is equal to his.
Oh, heck no.
Right?
None of ours is.
If
Yeah.
he can say that, why can't I say that? Right? So I find that really powerful message.
Well, and I'd like to second the motion on that book. It is a really good book. It really does make you think, you know, because he shared some of the stories of what he saw there and what he went through and what others went through. Yeah, and to be able to pull that out and realize that, you know, that's one thing that can't be taken away from me that's pretty powerful. So, I mean, I think we all get so caught up in life, in everyday life, with everything, the chaos and stuff that's happening around us. We don't take time for ourselves to really stop and reflect on what's happening inside here. You know, I've had to do that quite a bit here the last few weeks. My emotions have been like all over the place, and yeah, I still haven't quite got to the root cause yet, but I'm still searching deep inside, and Jeanette can attest where I'm very quiet. I'm very kind of standoffish. I don't say a lot. It's not my normal self, and there's something that's going on, and I'm still trying to find that's inside of me. I haven't quite figured it out what it is yet, but I hope it comes soon because it's driving me crazy. You know, I'm hoping that I can get up in the mountains and get hiking here really soon, because that's kind of like my serenity. That's my church, is
No, mine too.
getting up in the mountains and going on a nice 10-mile hike or whatever, and just I've had some pretty cool spiritual experiences.
So
up in
it
the
sounds like
mountains,
you're going deep within, finding that healing. There's
Yeah,
a healing
yeah.
that's still needed here.
That's where I need to find it. You know, it's not really what's going on out in the 3D world and the outside. You know, it's like you were just saying, life isn't happening to us; it's happening for us. I've got to figure it out. I got to figure out what it is. You know, so I've even thought a couple times, like, I wish I was just the old self. You know, where, you know, weekend
think so
comes, it's
hard.
time to party, and it's just, you know, it'll go away. Well, guess what? It doesn't.
Try to code
You
it.
know, now, now I'm working on really getting deep to figure out what's going on, and I love that you guys are even doing that. How you've changed your whole aspect of digging deep and getting to know. You know, or getting the person, helping the person. That's what I should
Well,
say.
there's
helping the
no
person.
way I can ask or challenge a client to do something I'm not willing to do myself.
Yeah.
If we're not doing our own work, we can't walk.
Yeah.
And it's
Sure
allowing
point, yeah.
ourselves to go deep within so we can heal, so we can get to that root. So we don't resort to addictions. Just allow yourself to just feel it and just go within and get it all figured out within yourself, right?
You know, something I really like about recovery centers or health centers, the majority of the people that are there have gone through it. You know, if I haven't gone through a divorce, but I've got a friend that's going through a divorce, I know how to feel it. It'll be okay. All you got to do is this. Well, really, how the hell do I know? Because I haven't gone through it. But, you know, with Jeff, like he went through his addiction, and he knows where life took him and where things happened, and you know, it's pretty. It's really helpful to be able to know that Jeff can sit down with somebody and go over it, because he's been there.
Yeah.
So as Jeff was mentioning, you know, it is really good to have somebody that has that experience, you know, because for me to understand what Jeananne was going through in the depths of her addiction, thinking, yeah, I know, you know, okay, yeah, she's got a lot of pain, but I get it. No, I don't get it. And I think we were even talking about that, Sarah, during the break, that one of the therapists that she was seeing when she was at Phoenix, when she told me there's nothing you can do, and I said, oh yeah, you watch me, you watch me. I'm gonna help her. I'm gonna get her sober. Took me years after that to start realizing, damn, she was right. There isn't anything that I can do, you know. And where we go back to that choice, the choice had to be hers,
Yep.
not mine. No matter how bad and how hard I try,
We just can't fix another person.
yeah. Well, and that was one word that I learned not to use with Jeananne, is you don't fix. I don't remember what recovery center we were at, but one of her sisters came to visit her, and her sister says, so have they fixed you yet? Oh my gosh. I watched Jeananne like, fix? I'm not broken.
Right.
You know, I don't need fixed. So I'm very careful using that word. But yeah, because they're not broken.
No.
No.
I think that's part of the difference between using the word empathy and sympathy.
Ah,
Yeah.
True.
good
Because
point.
we sympathize as human beings. We sympathize so much with when we see other people hurting, and we want to fix them or help them, and you can't do that.
Oh,
You
we
just
can
really
empathize.
and understand, but when you sympathize, you want to fix and help, and that's not healthy for the individual that's going through something, or for the person that's trying to assist them. It's not healthy.
Yeah.
And actually, Sarah taught me that too.
Yeah, very nice. So that.
Yeah.
Well, like I said,
nice.
we'll make sure her number's out for everybody.
Yeah,
So if
right.
anybody needs any advice, We'll just give Sara a call. That's what we'll call it. Need advice? Give Sara a call.
And then all their friends and all their friends and all their friends and family are calling her.
You're going to be busy.
I know, right? She's like, I need a charge.
But I'm glad that you said that, Jeff, because that is so true. It really is. And one thing that I also learned is, and again, it took me a long time to realize this, is how could I help my wife with what she was going through if I couldn't even help myself? Because I wasn't even helping myself.
Yeah.
I was giving all the effort to try to get her, and yes, I used the word try, when I wasn't even doing what I needed to do to get myself where I needed to be.
And you also use the word help. You
Help.
can't help her.
Yeah.
You can only help herself.
Yeah.
You can only help yourself.
But he can be by your side, right?
Exactly.
By your
And that's-
side. You
can
we
support.
assist or we
Support.
support. We can't help, because when you help, you're holding the client back, and you're also holding yourself back as a therapist.
Yeah. Good
I
point.
did the same thing, though. I was trying to help, and I was trying to fix my husband and other people too. And I had that same realization. I can't help or fix anybody. I can support, I can be by their side, but I need to focus on me. What
Yeah.
I need to do for my own self. I went through that too.
It's a really,
Quite
really
a few
common
times.
scenario where people come into a treatment center with the problem person. I'm going to
Uh-huh.
give you the problem person in this family. And the rest of us are fine, right? They are our problem. And they're the ones with the problem.
Such a horrible way
So common. And obviously, the way that we all maybe mismanage our pain, there are some ways that are more problematic. They're bigger, they're easier to spot. Like, that person is doing things all over the place that are chaotic. And maybe the way that I mismanage my pain is more subtle and easily hidden. And so it's easy to put it all on this person and make this person look like the problem and send them to treatment. But it's one of the reasons why a treatment center that doesn't include family members, it's not going to be very effective, right? You need to include the entire system of people in that person's life, because there is no way they are the only one with a problem.
Right.
And there is no way that the people around them aren't somehow, whether it's completely subconscious, feeding into it, right?
You're so right there.
Come-
And that was something I saw too, but I saw it at a very late date. Like, almost like, how could I even go back to where I was wrong, or what, how I could have been better in a situation, or, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
What was you going to say, Jeff?
One of the hardest things to do when you involve the family system is have to tell family members that they're enabling, or there's that codependent relationship, because 99.9% of the time that family member is going to get offended, especially if it's a parent.
Yeah.
How can you go and tell a parent, well, you're the reason your son or daughter's dying because you're consistently giving them assistance, and when they're at the rock bottom, instead of telling you and setting a very strong boundary, you open the door and let them back in your home and shower them and feed them, and then when they're back out and walking out, what are you doing? You're handing them that $100 bill. Well, what do you think they're doing with that $100 bill? And I don't want my child to be hungry or starve. Well, they're not, because they're taking that $100 bill to feed their addiction.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult for a parent to accept. Very, very difficult.
That is too different, and I'm glad you brought that up, Jeff, because I was in the studio last week with Sylvia, who's been on the show, and we were talking about that. The difference between having a child that has an addiction problem compared to a spouse. For having a spouse, it is, I'm just going to say, it is easy to just go, I'm done.
Yep.
Get the hell out of here. Now when it comes to your child, that's your child. That's got to be so much tougher, because you just don't want to just say, I'm done. But what also I've learned too is, through listening to AA and going to therapy and different stuff like that, the addict has to set boundaries. So do we. and so does the parents. They have to set those boundaries. Now the hard part is, as you guys probably know, is keeping those boundaries.
Yeah.
Because I would start setting boundaries, and then I would find myself stepping right back out of the circle, doing the same crap again. It's like, oh, the hamster wheel's running again. Let's jump on and start spinning with them, and then pretty soon you're flying off again. But yeah,
Everybody has work to do.
yeah,
Everybody
everyone.
has work to do.
Mhm.
And it works so much better for the person suffering most if everybody is, right, engaged in their own work. And one of the things that comes up a lot in those kinds of scenarios where people are kind of figuring out, well, where's my part in this? I don't have a part in this, or I have all the parts in this, is that people swing. It's like they're playing a game with themselves and with everybody else, and they swing between these extremes of blame and shame. And it's something I tell the clients, those are actually two sides of the same coin. If I'm going to take all the blame for the pain in this family, right, it's just as unhelpful as if I were to give away all the blame and not take any. They're both completely unhelpful places. It's the opposite of that, where we all need to be, is a place of accountability, honesty and accountability.
I now have come to a point where if I'm supporting someone, then I'm like, please, as I support you, please be patient with me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it really is, it's a group effort.
Yeah.
And however many people are in it,
is.
it really truly is. I totally relate with what you said.
Yeah.
It really is.
And I love how you phrase that. Please be patient with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like a big part of that too now is that what we're seeing in treatment is not only are the clients getting the help they need, we're starting to get more families to get into treatment themselves, whether it be outpatient, inpatient, to get that assistance that they need to get healthy. And then when it comes all back together, when that family reunites, it's a really healthy family system.
Oh, I can
For
imagine.
everyone.
And
Yeah,
when
because go ahead, Melody. I apologize. No, go ahead.
And when we're supporting someone, a loved one, I lost my train of thought.
Okay, I'll just step in.
Just go ahead.
If
Yes.
I might, one of the things I wanted to mention is what I have seen is, a client was really wanting family members to get into treatment, and then that was kind of a battle going on. And then as soon as the family decided and committed, we are actually going to go into getting our assistance and the treatment that we need. That client went from here in their recovery to here.
Yeah.
Because they no longer had to carry all that extra baggage and all that extra weight.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing for the parents. Now they're getting the help, and that relationship just went from here to here. And the communication grew. And that authenticity and that open and honesty in treatment in family sessions goes from just exponential. It's beautiful to
So
watch.
true. It's a symbol of accountability, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I remember what I was going to say now. Okay, so, also too, those of us who are supporting another, if you don't feel like you're supporting them perfectly, or you feel like you may have failed in your support somewhere, don't be hard on yourself, because you really didn't. You're doing the best that you can. So that's for the people that are on the other side. That, especially if you've never had to support someone in that particular situation. There's a first time for everything, and you're just not going to be perfect at everything. And then the person being supported, please don't expect your supporters to be perfect around you and support you just perfectly, because they don't completely understand everything you're going through and all your thoughts and emotions,
But
So then I guess we go back to the group effort, Sarah, right?
I think that's where what Jeff said, the communication.
Yes.
Because once you start learning the communication, that is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is a huge key in the recovery for both parties. Because, again, us on the other side, we're so busy putting the blame that all this is because of you, when really, if you step back, you really do have to evaluate yourself. And I like that you guys have a program where family members can come in and sit down, because believe me, I did the same thing. I blamed everything on Jeananne, everything. It was her fault for everything. And it took me 7 years or however long it was to finally figure it out that, wait a minute, it's just not her. You know, I'm a big part of it. I mean, I've said many times, you know, I was there pissing the alcohol right on the fire myself, you know, and it's just because of the way I was coming across with things, because I didn't know how to have that communication, how to handle I didn't know how to set those boundaries, you know, and all I did was make it worse. But in my eyes, I wasn't. It was her. So it's really great that you guys have that, because again, communication, and start understanding. When you really start digging deep and thinking about it, when you're on the other side of the addiction, I think those bells start going off, where you start realizing where you did enable that person, or
I love how you just explained that, because what I'm hearing in that explanation is some self-compassion, which actually you kind of touched on too, Melody. That is essential to be able to be willing to look at my part. If I can't acknowledge that I didn't know how to do it a different way, like you said, that's self-compassionate. Because if you can acknowledge that I didn't know how, then you're going to be more willing to realize, oh, that's why I went wrong. Or you're going to see where I went wrong. If you're going to be in a place of, whoa, I'm not the problem, right? Like, you can't, if there's no self-compassion there, right, you're not going to be able to look at that other person's going to lose trust, right?
Oh, yeah. It's just like a little kid. You know, I mean, seriously, we were talking about that the other day in the studio. Brad and Sylvia and I, we were talking about how little kids, how they can lose trust. And Brad used to work with troubled youth, and you know, he finally figured out like these 10 key components that everyone was going through. And once he figured that out, but there's a lot of times we do lose trust. And once we've lost that trust, man, it's hard to get it back.
Oh, it is.
So, yeah.
I just, from a perspective of, from the individuals who are on the outside, I would like to say, don't give up on your loved one, but also don't enable them, and don't be codependent. Because the most beautiful thing, I would rather see an addict stumble 50, 60 times, but continue to get up and fight. And if they continue to do that, that tells me that they're going to get it at a point. As long as they don't give up the fight, they're not giving up their life.
Wow. You hit the nail right on the head. I think after the third or fourth time Jeananne went through rehab, and she'd go through another one, I'm like, yeah, okay, who gives a shit? I mean, seriously. I could care less, because I'm like, you've gone through this many already, and there ain't a damn thing that's working. I was getting to that point. Even if she got a 30-day chip, you know, it's like they got to a point to where she was proud of that 30-day chip. To me, I was like, yes, so what? You're just going to relapse and you'll get another 30-day chip, or that's how I was thinking. And it took time, and also people letting me know, and I'll tell this story really quick before we go on the commercial break and then wrap this up. But there's a gentleman that I know from networking, comes up to me at a networking event one day, and he goes, "Al, I got to show you something, man." He's all excited, he reaches in his pocket, and he pulls out, and he goes, "Check this out." Like, oh my gosh, dude, a 5-year chip, that is awesome. You know, I'm rubbing it. I'm like, this is so cool. And I'm like, yeah, my wife got 13 months sober, and I bought her a year chip once. And he said, then she relapsed, and I took it away. And I could just watch it, and I'm going, oh shit, he's going to hit me. And he goes, don't you ever take a chip away. She deserved every single minute. And that light bulb, I went, I never looked at it that way. Because again, I'm not understanding
the battle.
And we had a guy on our show who battled porn addiction. He was out of town on a business trip, pulled up to a bridge. He was thinking about jumping off the bridge, and he's thinking, why can't I beat this? Why can't I'm trying. And then he started thinking, why am I not counting the days that I do good? And he, you know, after telling God why that thought came in his head, he's like, I went 2 days. Why am I beating myself up? And then all of a sudden the 2 days turned to 7 days. Then all of a sudden the 7 days turned to 20 days. Or maybe he went back to where it was only 1 day again. But he's like, start counting the days that you are successful, because you deserve to count those days. You know, so
with that, the most important day of all is day one. And you can have a million day ones, it doesn't matter, but day one is that day. That means the most, because that means you're in a space to where you want to recover.
Yeah.
And you're done being sick and tired. Day one.
And I'm glad that you said that. And I think I said this when I came and talked at Corner Canyon for the first time, that's a place where I did not give my wife credit. Maybe she had been through 1 rehab, 3 rehabs, 5 rehabs. At least she kept trying. She never gave up after that one, because she could have very easily.
People do.
And maybe she did go to the first 3 or 4 for the wrong reason, for me, not for herself, but she was still going. You know, so that's another point where us on the other side, again, we are not understanding it, and where we can come in and go to a place like Corner Canyon's Health Center to start learning that. So guys, we're going to stop for a quick commercial break. We'll come back and wrap this up.
All right.
Good morning, this is Leticia with Computer Hospital. We are your computer repair experts for both PC and Mac. We are your community resource for all of your computer repair needs. What makes us different is that we want to fix your computer. We also do free diagnostics. We charge a flat rate labor, which means that you won't pay by the hour. All of our computer repair is done in-house with a fast turnaround time, and same-day service is also available. Feel free to stop by anytime without an appointment. We're located in Sandy at 8721 South State Street. Again, that's 8721 South State Street. Or call us at 801-987-3993. Again, that's 801-987-3993. This is Leticia with Computer Hospital, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Hello there, this is Brad Neufeld with the Resilience Talk Network, and I would like to introduce to you Taffytown, one of our newest sponsors. Let me introduce you to Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek from Taffytown. We're proud sponsors of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Taffytown is a family-owned and operated business still operating in the Salt Lake City area for over 100 years. We manufacture some of America's best saltwater taffy.
What makes Taffytown stand out from all of the others?
We have a unique recipe, a whipped-style recipe that incorporates egg whites, evaporated milk, real sea salt. It's a unique product that is flavorful, melts in your mouth, and the best part is we probably have a flavor for anyone's liking, a flavor for any reason, for any season. We have unique flavors like chicken and waffles, maple bacon, frosted cupcake. New this year was a pineapple ghost pepper flavor.
That's awesome. Where can people find out more about Taffytown and all of its products?
You can check all of this stuff out. All of our products are available for sale on Taffytown.com. We ship for free from our website, so all of our pricing on there is shipping included. Oftentimes we offer special promotions and discounts to our loyal customers, so do be sure to sign up for an account, and we look forward to seeing what we can do to make you smile with our taffy.
Where are you located?
We are currently located at 9813 South Prosperity Road in West Jordan, Utah, just at the foothills of the Copper Canyon mine.
Derek, taffy has always been a great gift to give. What are some of the creative ways Taffytown can help say thank you to others?
Yeah, if you're looking for gift ideas, whether to say thank you to friends or family, or maybe to your clients after such a difficult or successful year that you've had, you could look no further than to get a gift idea from Taffytown.com. We offer pre-packaged gift boxes that say that it's saltwater taffy from the city of the Great Salt Lake, and it tells a little bit about the history of our community and making candy for so long. You can also do customized gifts to pick out just the right flavors or colors of candy for that special someone, and deliver even a personalized message in that box to them. So please feel free to check out taffytown.com for any gift ideas this season.
Thank you so much, Derek. Please visit taffytown.com. That's taffytown.com to find out more about the products and services that Taffytown offers. You won't be disappointed.
Do you know someone who's gambling with death due to an addiction? Do you know someone whose life is being turned upside down due to a loved one that's battling with addiction? Hi, I'm Al Richards. I am the host of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I started the podcast due to my wife's battle with alcohol. Let's just say I became addicted to her addiction. Our podcast is helping people understand a little more about those who have battled addiction and those who are hurting from their addiction. Through raw vulnerability, we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction. Shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing paths of recovery. We collaborate with real people and their stories, as well as licensed professionals, to help our audience gain a better understanding of addiction. You can find us on Resilience Talk Network. You can also find us on Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. That's Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look up the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Other Side of Addiction. Again, thank you to our platinum sponsor, Matter Behavioral out of Mount Pleasant. And hey man, we just want to say a huge thank you to our special guests today, Jeff and Sara from Corner Canyons Health Center. Guys, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here with us. I have loved every single minute of this show. I mean, seriously, there has been, what do you think, Melody? There's been some great information.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, I've learned so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've had through the whole show goosebumps pretty much.
Right.
Yeah, or chicken skin, however you want to look at it. Yeah, just because there was so much great information shared, and it touched me, get emotional, it touched me so deep in my heart, because, again, this is what I love about doing this show, is because when our guests come in, it helps me so much to get to where I can understand even more. Mm-hmm. And hopefully our listeners who are on the other side of addiction, hopefully it connects with them, because if they've got a family member or a friend even, that's going through addiction, hopefully what they hear in these podcasts will help them step into better communication and learn how to set their own boundaries. Because, friends, maybe family can step into those boundaries and hold to those, but sometimes it's difficult for friends because, again, we just want to help that person and we think we're helping them when we're really not.
And allowing ourselves to see things in a different perception, a different way.
Different way, yeah.
To think more like a child, I think, really. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
more childlike.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, guys, before we sign off, we always like to give our guests an opportunity to talk about whether they have a book or a podcast themselves or whatever. I mean, share with our listeners what makes you guys so unique. What makes Corner Canyon Health Center, which you just changed your name because you corrected me at the beginning of it.
It was about a year ago.
About a year ago. So I love the change in the name because I think it says a lot more. I think it widens the spread on things. That's how I'm seeing it. Yeah. But so tell us a little bit more about Corner Canyon.
Yeah, so Corner Canyon Health Center is I think it does pride itself on being extremely inclusive of anything that's out there that might be helpful to someone. They want everyone to come in and be able to participate in modalities, whether they're somewhat new or whether they've been around a while and maybe more tried and tested, knowing that individual need is going to vary, right? And people are coming in with various reasons for their pain and their inability to manage their pain in ways that other people are doing out there. And so they're wanting to come in and give them the tools that needed. And so in doing so, they specialize in a lot of really effective research-based trauma modalities mostly, but they're also making sure that we're creating the kind of structure. It's almost like, I know a lot of recovery centers want to make sure that we are kind of repeating or recreating a healthy home, almost reparenting childhood environment, right? That's kind of the point of most residential centers. And I think Corner Canyon Health Centers takes it to another degree where they make sure that people are doing physical exercise every day. They're enriching their spirituality whenever possible, in whatever way that means for them. That they are doing a lot of values work. They're doing a lot of internal searching. So in addition to kind of the more, weekly therapy, the medication management, like all the things that the wraparound service, there's a lot of who are you really, and why are you here, and what do you want? And I think without that piece, it's not sustainable, right? They're not going to be able to get that opportunity. The people who work there really care. And it's one of the reasons why I can't seem to quit Corner Canyon. Because I actually was their clinical director for a while, and then I stepped back to start my own private practice. So I'm doing both now. I'm not clinical directing at Corner Canyon, but I am still acting as like a group leader and a therapist because I just adore the people and I adore the program. And so I can't seem to completely detach myself.
Thank you so much, though. Thank you so much for everything.
That says a lot, and just to kind of give you guys some sugar, I guess we put it, as we said at the beginning of the show, I met Jeff at the gym. And I saw what Jeff was doing with the clients there, how he was really getting them engaged and being there with them. And I run into Jenny every once in a while. As a matter of fact, she was there this morning with a couple clients that was there.
Awesome.
And she's awesome. And to see that communication and that partnership and that love that you guys have for the people that come through your doors, I mean, says a lot. Because, and again, I'm not going to name which ones, because there are a lot of good recovery centers out there. There really is. But there are a few that, I think they're just more there. I'm just going to say they're more there for the money. It's not really the people that come through. So when I see the stuff that you guys are doing and some of the other ones like the Other Side Academy and Wasatch Recovery and that, to see the love and the care of everybody that walks through that door, and they know when they walk out, that might be the last time they see them, or they may hear that they didn't, they lost their battle, or they may see them again. But and also with Matter, I mean, to see that love, and we've had the opportunity to sit down and also go and visit a lot of these facilities, and that means a lot to me. My wife's, Janan's been to a couple of them. She's been to Wasatch, she's been to Phoenix, she's been not at the Corner Canyons, but you were there when she was at the Phoenix. But to see that love and care means a lot, because I think us on the other side at times, and I'm guilty of it, where you start throwing that love away because you're so sick and tired of the battle, So
Start feeling like you're losing that hope and that faith in the whole.
In it all. And to know that they still have that at your facility.
They do.
Because I know a lot of, well, I don't know a lot of them, but I would say there's probably some that walk in your doors and just go, yeah, my family, they don't want anything to do with me, and they're done, and and we all need love. We've said love overpowers a lot. So
And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about being at Corner Canyon as part of that team is we show them and give them love until they can love themselves.
I love it.
And we show them what it feels like to be loved in healthier ways, maybe, than they're used to, than their family are capable of right now.
Love is the
Well
answer
put.
to the universe, like I always say.
Yeah. So if there's anybody out there that's listening to this, how would they find you guys?
So cornercanyonhealthcenters.org is or .com?
.com.
.com?
It's .com. Yeah. It's .com.
is the website. My private practice is Sorensen Counseling, and I have a profile up on Psychology Today. I know Jeff does some
Interventions?
Yes,
Yep,
interventionist.
I'm doing some interventions now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So if you have a loved one you're in desperate need of helping them see that they're needing help, Jeff would be an excellent person.
I'm your guy.
Now, can they find your contact information on the website?
Not my private contact information, but I'm
Okay.
willing to go ahead and give that out.
Yeah,
They can give me a
please.
call at 435-830-4949, and I'd be more than willing to, have that conversation with you.
Wow. That's really cool. That's some cool stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeff.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you.
I'm gonna
Thanks for,
make sure I write that down.
thanks for
I know
having me.
people. I have loved ones.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, again, thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to spend it with us. And I apologize for my technical difficulties of not knowing everything. But
Good.
yeah, I have a phenomenal producer, and he'll take out his little Harry Potter wand and do some
Sprinkle
things.
some magic on it.
Sprinkle
Good job.
some, it's fairy
Magic
dust. As
dust.
long as it's not glitter. I cannot handle glitter. Just keep away from the glitter. But yeah, guys, thank you again so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So guys, again, thank you to our listeners. Thank you to all our sponsors, all our supporters. Again, we couldn't do this without all of you. And remember, we're going to leave you with this as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.